Hello, welcome back to the Villa View. It's time for a match preview for Villa's home game against Cardiff on Tuesday night.
We won't touch on that too much, so I'm sure you'll mention it in the podcast, but first let's talk about Norwich very quickly. Massively disappointing defeat. How did you see the game?
I don't really know what's happened to us, to be honest. I mean, we've come off the back of that Wolves game and just messed it up, for want of a better phrase. I mean, Saturday, first half thought we were okay. Obviously the goal on half times changed the game, but second half when we go behind, there's just no plan B again, and we seem devoid of ideas when we go behind. I mean, I tweeted out yesterday, I think it was, with 15 games we've gone behind and we've won 2 of them, and when we've gone ahead we haven't lost a game, so that tells you what the problem is. And it just, when we do go behind or the game's not going our way, it seems to be the same kind of substitutions, and in the last month it hasn't worked. So I can't believe that we're yet again taking off the wingers and throwing forwards on, because it's proved already that it doesn't work. So to do it again on Saturday, again, it doesn't give you much faith that we're going to get back in the game, because we know it hasn't worked previously. I mean, to concede 3 against what is an average Norwich team, in my eyes, is not good. And suddenly we're shipping goals. I mean, that's 3 against Norwich, 3 against QPR. We look a bit all over the place at times. We need to rectify it, because playing Cardiff on Tuesday, that'll punish us if we're not at the races.
So it could have been so different. If you'd have beat Norwich and we picked up just a couple more points earlier on in the weeks when we've not been great, we could be looking at this Cardiff game now being 3 points behind them, a point behind them, whatever it is. All this big build up it seems to be. Now we're coming to play Cardiff and it doesn't really mean much now.
It feels like it should be so much more. As I say, after that Wolves game, you really felt we were going to kick on, and if we'd have even been half good since Wolves, we'd be in a good position. But we've just lost and drawn games. I didn't think we would. We seem to now be struggling against the lesser lights, if you will. I actually think we'll win on Tuesday night. I think there'll be a good atmosphere, and in games when the crowd have been behind us and there's been that big atmosphere, we've turned up and put on a really good show. It's just suddenly these games away at Bolton, at Hull, at Norwich, we don't seem to have a clue how to break these kind of teams down and tip the scales in our favour, and it is worrying, because things aren't always going to go well. I mean, it looks like playoffs now. It would take an absolute epic disaster for us not to be in that top 6 now, but you want a little bit of faith that when things aren't going well, you're going to turn it around. And from the evidence I've seen over the last month with substitutions, tactics and overall performance, I think everyone needs to look in the mirror a little bit.
So you just said then you think we'll win tomorrow night, or maybe today when this video eventually goes out. What makes you think that? Just
as I say, when there's been a big game at Villa Park, we have turned up and got the result, and usually played well as well to boot. If you think recently, Bristol City at home, Blues at home, Wolves at home, the big games, we seem to have got them right. I say it's just based on that, but recent form is very, very concerning, because I just didn't see it coming, and I can't really put my finger on what's gone wrong. I mean, I know during the games, as I say, substitutions haven't been great. I don't think they've helped us. I think if anything, they've hindered us. But just for the performances to be so different to the Wolves game and what we were seeing before that, like the QPR game, for example, I can forgive that if it's a one-off. I'd just put that down as a freak result, a one-off. We didn't play well. We were perhaps tired. He should have changed the team, as he said himself. But what's unfolded since that? You suddenly think it's not a fluke, is it? Because we're playing against average sides, and we're not even getting average results. We're getting poor results.
I think I saw a quote from Bruce that said he's not quite sure what's gone wrong either. Is that not a little bit worrying to hear the manager not being able to identify why we're not playing well?
A little bit. He's gone quite heavy on the players after the Norwich game, but I do think he needs to look at himself as well. I think Steve Bruce has done an awful lot of good this season, and to my detriment, I've sat here and praised him on the podcast, in the videos, and I've got stick at times for being positive, but I think he's got a few things wrong over the last few weeks. I mean, maybe he's just trying to get a reaction out the players, and if so, when he gets that reaction on Tuesday, that's good management. But it's pretty dangerous digging out the players when I think you've done a couple of things wrong yourself in a few games recently.
I know all too well from my football manager to say about that.
Yeah, you're no football manager.
So you mentioned about substitutions not being up to scratch over the last couple of games. How do you think Bruce goes into this game now, and how does he change this team to get that reaction?
I'd be shocked if Jedinak didn't come back in this one. I don't think it will be for Bjarnason, though. I mean, I think I'd only play one of those two personally, but I think he'll play both, and possibly Connor will drop out again, which I think would be harsh. As I posted some statistics in the week about what's happened.
Statman.
Statman
Dan.
I have turned into Statman a little bit of when we dropped Connor. It's not always gone well for us. I mean, he could rest Grealish out. I imagine he's going to get kicked off the park against Warnock, but to me he's our best player, so you can't do that. But he's going to have to freshen it up. It wouldn't surprise me to see Codger in the side now. It's got to the point, I think, where things are going quite reasonably badly now, where we'll hit the panic button a little bit and put Codger back in early, like we did earlier on in the season when things aren't going well. It's just a question for me of whether it's for Hogan or whether it's on the wing for Adoma, because I don't think Adoma's been at his best the last few weeks. He's had a very, very good season and set himself really high standards, and it'd be harsh to take out your top scorer, but he's been subbed a couple of times recently for Codger, and he's not been at his best. He seems to be a bit hesitant to me at the moment. I'm not sure why. I mean, we saw in the whole game when he probably should have pulled the trigger, and he tried to go for the pass instead, so he's not been at his best. If Hutton's back, he comes in immediately for me, which is something I never ever thought I'd be saying a year ago, let alone saying for him to come in at left back. But Taylor looks timid as well. He doesn't look right. He's not the fullback I saw play for Villa last season. He's had an off season. I think his confidence must be on the floor, because he's basically a right back's been playing in his position all season. You'd have thought he would have been thinking as the only left back this season, if he's fit, he's going to play every game, and it hasn't happened. But I thought he was poor against Norwich. I know there's a good player in there. I'm not sure what's happened to him at the moment, but I can only presume it's a lack of confidence. I mean, I think it wouldn't surprise me to see Twanzebe be coming at right back, solid us up a bit. For Cardiff are a bit physical, but it could be any team. I wouldn't bank on many people getting the starting 11 prediction right for this one, if I'm being honest.
Do you think there's a chance that we possibly go for maybe Graben or even Davis up front to maybe match Cardiff being a bit more physical?
It just wouldn't make any sense for Davis to come in, because he wasn't on the bench the other weeks. I mean, sorry,
maybe he should have been.
Maybe he should have been. He's a bit different, isn't he, to the other strikers? But if he's not on the bench on Saturday, it would be strange to see him come in on Tuesday. I mean, as I'm talking now, Hepburn Murphy's scoring goals for the under 23s. He's got to try something different on Tuesday, because that's five games now. I know we won the Reading game. For the last month, we've been off and we've not looked good. So he's going to have to change it around and try something different. Maybe play with two midfield holders and try Grealish as a 10 for this game. Just something to change. That was the thing with the Norwich game. You've got the formation, and in the main that formation's worked very well, 4-1-4-1. But you don't necessarily have to change personnel to try and get something out of the game. Just, he could have dropped Horahan a bit deeper, had Horahan and Burke sitting, and just get Grealish playing close to the striker for 10-15 minutes, just see what happens. You don't necessarily have to bring people off to change the system or change the game. I just think it needed something different on Saturday with the subs, and it was the same old subs that haven't been working.
I know I can play devil's advocate a little bit, that maybe if we'd have seen a different team start against, or a different system, we might have been looking back going, oh, Bruce's fault because he changed it.
Yeah, you can't
we can look back now and say that, you can't win. You look back now and say, yeah, maybe he should have. But if he did change it, still had the same result, we'd be looking at it and going, oh, Bruce changed a winning team. Why did he do that? So, it is tough, but, this run we've had, I think we said it before Norwich, that the run we've had wasn't acceptable, that many 3 games without a win or whatever it was. But to go to Carrow Road when the Wolves game was the night before, wasn't it? The Wolves Cardiff game.
Yeah. So
you're thinking of the players will have watched that on the night before. You should be feeling pumped up and fired up to take advantage of Cardiff's slip up, and we just looked so slow straight away. We didn't look anywhere near it, and why that is, who knows? I
mean, to be honest, Bruce is an experienced manager, and we've all hung our hat on the fact his championship record is second to none. So I'd expect him to know at this stage whether he needs to change a team, whether he should keep it the same. I know it sounds a bit silly to say that, but I would expect him to know what the right thing to do is, because he's been around the block and he knows this league like the back of his hand. Sometimes when he's coming out and saying I should have done this, I should have done that, I'd expect him to know, if I'm being honest. And we've had 3 what I would class as really bad runs now this season, and I think it's shown you can afford 2 maximum and still get automatics or be in a shout with getting automatics. You can't have the 3 runs we've had, because at the start of the season I think we won 1 of our first 6 or 7 games. We had that horrible run in December when Terry was injured, and now we've had this patch since Wolves, which hasn't been good enough. The players, Bruce, coaching staff, everyone will know it hasn't been good enough, and it's not what's been expected. The players have set themselves high standards this season, and we've won an awful lot of games, and I've come away from Villa Park feeling very, very happy on multiple occasions. But we've just had those 3 bad patches that in the end, having that many is going to have absolutely killed us, and now it looks like we're going to be fully reliant on what happens in the playoffs and whether we can get ourselves going again before the playoffs. And if that is our lot, then I'll back us, and I think that we can probably do it. I think when it's the big games and it matters, and it'll be a full house at Villa Park, it'll be rocking, and I think the players will come to the fore. But it's just if we're in that away game and things aren't going well, and it's time to make substitutions and change something over the last month, I don't know whether I've got the confidence that we can turn it round.
So before a proper prediction for Cardiff, we've got, I think, 5 games left of the league season now before the playoffs come round. Like you said earlier, it's probably an epic disaster to drop out. So how important are these next 5 games now to establish some kind of momentum going into the playoffs? Is it possible to get up to that standard needed to win in the playoffs in just 5 games?
Yeah, it definitely is. But if you look at last season, Huddersfield pretty much switched off.
Yeah.
When they realised they couldn't get automatics last year, and just changed the side around, rested people, and pretty much went into the playoffs on a bit of a limp. And they were the ones that went up. But for me, we need to get the crowd back on side. There's obviously going to be whinges again, and if it doesn't start well on Tuesday, inevitably there's frustration because the last month hasn't been good enough, and they will get on the players' backs. That's what happens at Villa Park. So it's going to need strong characters, and it's going to need. We need momentum. For me, I wouldn't want to go in that playoffs not on a good run, and we're capable of hitting a good run again. We could beat any team on our day, because we've shown that we can. We've beat some good teams this season. It's just whether we can get ourselves out of this rut ASAP, and the sooner it happens, the better. The Reading game, I do remember saying that I think it was difficult to judge whether we had turned the corner, because it was such an easy game. I know 10 men's not always easy, but Reading came out and they didn't want to attack even when they had 11 men. So from that point of view, I think it was a difficult one to judge whether we had turned the corner, and we've shown again on Saturday that there's a touch of fragility in the side at the moment. I mean, the third goal, I thought we were absolutely all over the place. I know we're chasing the game, and I remember texting you. There's one moment where Grabban was the furthest player back, and
yeah,
so many forwards on the pitch, and no one really looked like they knew where they were playing. Grealish scores, then the next minute I see him playing right wing, and to be honest, he did swing in a couple of good crosses actually. But it's like you've got people playing in positions they haven't played in all season. There's no relationships on the pitch again all of a sudden, and Snodgrass has been pulled a couple of times, and even if he's not having his best game, just having him on for his set piece delivery, and he's good for a goal as well, a bit of magic. I just taking off both the wingers on Saturday puzzled me.
Well, before you get too het up about the Norwich game, I'll pull you back in, and we'll just end with a prediction for Cardiff. You always said we're going to win, but what's your scoreline?
I'm not even het up. I'm just disappointed with what
it sounded.
No, you could see my face. You'd probably say different. Now I'm just disappointed and can't understand what's happened over the last month. I just remember how I felt, and I keep harping on about it. That Wolves game, I really thought, right, we've cracked it. I thought the same after Birmingham. It's like every time we've had a sniff of second or been in second, we've thought, oh, we can't be having this. Let's go for the playoffs instead. It's just it's baffled me. I'm really confused by it and frustrated. I just hope that we can put it right on Tuesday, and I think we will. I'm going to predict us to win 3-1. I'm not sure what I'm basing it on, because I just think in the big games we've turned up. You can't underestimate the fact that Cardiff will have probably been hit quite hard by what happened to them.
Yeah.
On Friday, that's a shocker of a way to lose, missing 2 penalties in stoppage time, and they've obviously got Fulham breathing down their necks now as well. So Cardiff aren't going to be coming here full of confidence. They'll come here and try and settle us and put themselves about, because that's what Warnock sides do. But I think that will have hit them hard, and as I say, Fulham coming up on their shoulder, they'll know that they're in a bit of trouble.
Yeah, I agree in certain two aspects that I think they'll be looking over their shoulder, and possibly we might be looking over our shoulder a little bit as well. I'm going to go for a draw. I think both teams will probably be a little bit too scared of losing it, and I think we'll just cancel each other out, and it'll just be a drab 1-1 or something like that.
Would you be happy with the point?
Well, part of me thinks that because I can't see us not getting the playoffs and we're not going to finish second, it almost doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like obviously I don't want to lose. I'd rather win. But if we draw and we play all right and we sort of look like, okay, we're going to settle down again now, then yeah, I'd take that, I think.
So that's it for today's match preview. Comment below with your thoughts ahead of the Cardiff game and your predictions for the game ahead and the season ahead as well. If you have enjoyed this video, then give it a like, give it the big old thumbs up, and that really helps the channel grow. If you're not subscribed to the Villa View with your post notifications on, then if you could also do that, that would be absolutely magnificent. We'll be mingling around the Holts after the game, win, lose or draw, so come and have a word with us. And if you want to be on YouTube and get your view across on fan cams, then we'll be there to take in all the Villa fans' views after the game. Thanks ever so much for tuning in and all the support you give the channel of the Villa. If you enjoyed that video, why not watch another? Click the video choices on screen now to go and watch them in full. Be sure to subscribe to the channel by clicking our logo there on the left. Easy peasy.